Good evening, everyone. We have a small group right now, but hopefully more will join. And this will be recorded and posted on our district website. So you have access and you can share that with your friends as well. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Annie Murphy, and I am the Director of Student Services here in the Union School District. And tonight we're going to be talking about attendance matters and building your strong connections to school to support attendance. Because as we know, attendance is very important for your students. So tonight we're going to review some attendance data and talk about how it affects learning. We're going to talk about the different types of absences, what happens when you get an attendance letter and what do you do next. We'll talk a little bit about our SARB School Attendance Review Board. We're going to talk about our independent study policy, some helpful tips for home. And we have Elisa Schoen from the District Attorney's Office, our RISE Court, which is Resource to Improve Student Education. And she's going to be sharing with you in just a moment. But to start, I always like to share this video that was actually created out of the DA's office, and it's a great video on the importance of attendance.
Every parent is hopeful for their child's future.
Here he comes. Good morning.
Showing up on time every day is the first step toward that bright future. Attendance in early grades is the single most powerful predictor of graduating high school, even more than test scores.
All right, let me see who's not here today. Mike, Lisa, Jen.
Absences may not only cause your child to fall behind academically, but your child may also struggle with the stress of trying to catch up with the rest of the class. Children with lots of absences will also miss out on important social benefits, like making friends and building positive relationships with their teachers. In fact, truancy is the biggest predictor of juvenile delinquent behavior. Just missing a couple days a month can add up. As your child gets older and continues to think, I can miss a day or two, that habit will negatively impact their ability to be a responsible adult. Students with chronic absences also have a higher rate of unemployment, poverty, health issues, and substance abuse as adults. But you can keep this from happening and set your child up for success. Establish a routine with consistent bedtime and wake-up time for your child. Create a help bank. This is a circle of people who can help your child get to school when unexpected things come up. Keep track of your child's absences on a calendar. And communicate with your school about any absences or struggles your child may be having.
Good morning, Miles.
Make being on time an important part of your daily routine so that every day you and your child are building toward that bright future. Contact your child's school district for more information about ways they can help support your family.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Alicia.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your attendance in tonight's meeting. It obviously goes to show how much you care about your kids, which of course you do, and just how devoted you are to their well-being. Much of what I'm about to talk about is directly in line with that devotion and that desire to have what's best for your kids. So let me start sharing. Can you see my slides?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I'm going to be speaking with you this evening about the importance of attendance in early education. And by that, I mean anything before high school. So why is it that attending school is so important? And when I say attending school, I don't just mean being enrolled and generally going. I'm talking about being on time in school every day. Attendance is a bigger predictor of high school graduation than our test scores. So they ran studies where children who were scoring high on tests but had more absences dropped out of high school at a higher rate than did children who were scoring lower on the tests but who were consistently in school on time every day. Children with an attendance rate of 95% or higher are more likely to earn grades of A's or B's. Attendance in elementary school is the primary correlative of high school graduation. And on the flip side, we know children who are chronically absent, who are missing 10% of the school time, are more likely to use marijuana, alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, and are more likely to grow up into adults who have diabetes, stroke, other health issues, and even have a shorter life expectancy. I have this icon of a crystal ball here because really there is a wealth of research and studies that now show us that attendance in the grades that your children are in is a crystal ball for what their future holds, in good and in bad. Of course, as adults, we all understand that attendance being linked to high school graduation, of course, then means it's linked to potential earning. The more education a child has, the greater is their earning potential. So this graphic shows you as you go up the graph, an individual's degrees go up. So not having received a high school diploma all the way through having gotten a doctorate, a PhD. And you see on the other side in the green, the unemployment rate. As the degree goes up, the higher the degree the person has, the lower are their chances of being unemployed. We all understand this intuitively. The better education a young person has, the greater is their earning potential. We also know that attendance is crucial because it teaches them in and of itself a habit. Every single day, your child is forming a habit. And it's either a good habit that's going to serve them well, that's going to make them someday an attractive and appreciated employee, or it's a bad habit that's going to make it very hard for them to be a contributing adult. When you as a family make it a priority that your child is up on time and at school on time and at school all day, every day, that is teaching that child the habit of getting up on time, showing up on time, and doing it every day. I have this silly meme here of Kanye West on a Monday, and all of us here have felt the way his face looks in this meme. We have all felt, whether we work in the paid labor force or the unpaid labor force, we have all had to show up that Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whatever it was, and do the job that we did not feel like doing. But because we had that muscle, we were able to do it. So every morning, I want you to think to yourself, am I helping my child form that positive habit that's going to serve them well, that's going to see them succeeding in life? Or am I helping them form the opposite habit? Now, I spoke a moment ago and I used the term chronic absence. Chronic absence is when your child has missed 10% of the days in school that have so far happened. So at the end of the year, there are 180 days. If your child has missed 18 days, they're chronically absent. But if there are 30 days that have passed and your child has missed 3, that's 10%, your child is chronically absent. The significance of chronic absence is that we know, again, from that great wealth of data and research that has been done into education, that when a child misses that 10%, when they get to that mark, they will not have an academically meaningful year, meaning they won't learn the academic information they were supposed to learn that year. If you look at this calendar, chronic absence is 2 days a month. Missing just 2 days a month will leave your child chronically absent, which will mean they won't have the academically meaningful year you want for them to have this year. Now, one of the things that we have all experienced in the last 5 years is a bit of whiplash after COVID. During COVID, all of us in society, and especially us parents, became very attuned to every sniffle and cough of our children. And we were told for a good period of time, a sniffle, a cough, a sore throat means you should keep your child home. But that is no longer the status. That is both no longer what's recommended medically or educationally. So collectively, we all need to make sure we are shifted fully into the new old mindset, meaning we are in 2019 times again, where it's not a sniffle, it's not a cough, it's not a sore throat that's keeping your child homesick from school. It's a fever, it's diarrhea, it's vomiting. So we want to make sure we are putting on our 2019 thinking caps. And that morning when you're deciding, is my child too sick to go to school or not? If your child, let's say last year, missed a lot of school, or if you're already noticing that your child has missed a lot of school, if I said that 3 days means your child is already chronically absent and you thought to yourself, we might be there, I want you to think about the why. Is it that you just simply didn't realize how important being at school every single day was? No problem. Now you have that information. You're armed with better information. You can do better. Is it that there's a barrier affecting either your child or your family? Barriers are things like if your child has a chronic disease and needs more medical support, if your family is struggling with transportation, if there's some sort of trauma either your child or a family member has experienced that's affecting, let's say, sleep, which is affecting them getting out of the door on time. Is it an aversion, a dislike? Is your child sort of putting their hands up and saying, no, I don't want to go to school? That's reason to investigate whether they're struggling academically and you need some more help from your school. Or if there's something going on with the school climate, if your child is experiencing bullying. The point is, if you know for your family that either in the past or currently, you're not showing up every day on time, all day, you're not putting your child on that path toward positive habits that are going to get them graduated from high school and on to college and maybe even a graduate degree, now is the time to think to yourself, what's the why? And then ask for help. Your school and your district has plenty of resources. All of these reasons they have seen students in your district struggle with, and they have resources to help your family. So you don't have to do this on your own. You just need to take the moment to figure out what is our struggle, where's our source of absences coming from, and then reach out for help. You saw in that video a few of these, but I want to just break them down because they're worth talking about. You now know, if you didn't already know, how important attending in these grades is. That just showing up at school every day on time means you've checked the biggest box in your child's academic success. That's actually freeing as a parent, right? The flashcards, the prepping for tests, all of that is frosting. The most important thing you can do, the most effective thing you can do as a parent is get them to school on time every day. So, some things that you should do to set your family up for success. First is to create a bedtime routine and wake up times. You might have heard the phrase sleep hygiene. If you haven't, what it means is in the same way that we have, our dentist tells us about oral hygiene. Oral hygiene means brush your teeth at least twice a day, floss once a day. This is the hygiene that keeps your mouth healthy. Sleep hygiene means these are the things we need to do to help our bodies get the sleep that keeps our bodies healthy. So for your child, that means a bedtime that gives them between 10 and 12 hours of sleep a night. The American Pediatrics Association, you don't have to take it from me, take it from the doctors. The American Pediatrics Association says that kids in elementary school or middle school need that amount of sleep, 10 to 12 hours a night. And if you think about what time your child has to get up in the morning to get dressed, eat breakfast, get their shoes on, get their backpack on, and subtract even just 10 hours, the lower amount from that, chances are they have to go to bed pretty early. It's probably looking like between 7:30, 8, maybe 8:30 at the latest. So set that bedtime, and the sleep hygiene comes in with regard to what happens before bedtime. TVs go off, devices go off, lights in the house get dimmed, you have some sort of routine, maybe you read a book, you do something calming in bed. You need to ensure your child gets the sleep they need so that they can wake up on time in the morning. We also encourage you to create a help bank of parents who can help. What that means is just a list of maybe 3 people who you talk to ahead of time and you have a loose plan with, so that if your car breaks down or your work shift changes or you're sick or something else happens that makes it hard for you to take your child to school, that doesn't mean your child misses school. Instead, you call that person in your help bank and you say, hey, I'm sick, or my car's in the shop, I can't drive my child, would you mind picking him up? And you set that up ahead of time so that when that inevitable thing happens at 6:30 in the morning and threatens to throw off your whole day, you've got a plan. And perhaps that person is a neighbor. Maybe they're a parent of your child's friend. Maybe they're a grandparent. But especially if it's a neighbor or another parent at your school, it can be a mutual thing. You say to them, hey, if I run into trouble, would you mind taking my child to school? And I'm happy to do the same for yours. I also encourage you to track your child's absences on your own personal calendar. So whether that's a digital calendar or a paper calendar, every day that your child is absent, I want you to mark that day in a specific and unique way. So not in a way that you marked any other day on that calendar. So you can open the calendar and readily see how many days your child has been absent. Because remember, just 2 days a month leaves them chronically absent. So keeping track of it means that that won't catch you by surprise. And last thing, and maybe the most important thing, is for you to communicate with your school. Like I said earlier, your school and your district they are rich with resources to offer parents and students and families, but they can't offer that help. They can't get your child what your child needs unless they know from you what's going on. So communicate early and often with your child's teacher, with your principal, with someone at the district office if you need to, about what's happening with your child. I'll leave you with my information if you have any questions. I'm happy to also take questions right now. So I'm going to stop sharing and I will stay on for another minute in case there are questions. And I see that there's a form in the chat.
Yeah, so I will look at that tonight, and they had them put their email. So if there's individual questions, I can respond to them directly. And if there's something for you, Alicia, I think I'll see you tomorrow at our supervisor training for attendance, so I can also follow up with you there.
Great. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Alicia. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And we're going to talk a little bit about what does attendance look like for Union. And so some of the slides you're going to see a bit of a repeat from what we heard from Alicia, but that's okay. It's always good, I think, to hear things more than once. So as Alicia said, the attendance is the #1 predictor of dropout and graduation rates. 17% of chronically absent students in kindergarten and first grade only can read on grade level. So often I hear, well, they're in kindergarten. It's okay if they miss a couple days of school or a few days of school here and there in kinder and first. But what we want to remember is that kindergarten, actually transitional kindergarten through second grade, is really the time where we're building the foundational skills to help students and building that foundation as they keep growing in other grades. So we want to really make sure, even if they're in those younger grades, that they're still at school every day. It's very important to their learning. 25%, there's a 25% drop in the likelihood of graduating high school in 4 years when students are absent between 5 and 9 days a semester. So as Alicia had shared, the chronic, if you miss 18 days of school during the school year, you're chronically absent. So the same thing, these students would be chronically absent. And as little as 5 to 9 absences a semester can drop a student's GPA. While we have GPAs in middle school, we don't have GPAs in elementary school. But thinking about that, missing that many days for a student in elementary school as well can impact their learning, as they're missing important content and concepts that we want to make sure that they are getting. Go to the next slide. So this slide talks about some of the long-term impacts of missing school. And the top slide just kind of shows if a student were to miss 1 day per quarter, 4 days per school year, which is a week of school year. If this was something a student did on a regular basis, they're over 13 years of schooling, of 13 years of school, they're going to miss 36% of one school year. And so you can see, as we talked about, if a student's missing 4 days per quarter, that's 16 days a year, and that's 3 weeks of school per year. That really makes an impact on students and their learning. Now, this graph below talks about being late to class. And while, we might think, oh, it's okay, they're just 5 minutes late, or a couple minutes late a day. But if a student misses 30 minutes per month, so let's say they're, late 5 days, 6 days, 6 times out of the month, that means that's 7.5 minutes per week, 1 day per year, and overall they're missing 13 days of school. And if we think about that chronically absent piece, they're getting close to that just by being late to school. While our teachers always do a great job of welcoming students in the classroom when they're late, because we want to have them in our classrooms and we're happy that they're there. Oftentimes for students, it makes them uncomfortable to walk in late because they might fear that they're missing something from the classroom instruction. And so while we might not think that being a few minutes late here and there makes a difference, it really does. And we want to make sure that our students come to school on time every day. So there are different types of absences, and you may have, when you call in for your student, there's different types. So there's excused absences, and those are if you have an illness, a medical appointment with a note, bereavement. In your annual Parents' Rights Handbook, pages 4 and 5, there is quite a long list of all of the excused absences allowed by Ed Code. Unexcused absences are if you were to go on a vacation without an independent study. Vacations are not excused absences. If a student overslept and didn't come into school that day, that's not an excused absence. If you have a flat tire and weren't able to make it to school that day, that's not an excused absence. So those are considered unexcused absences. And then a truant absence or tardy means that a student is late to school 30 minutes or more without an excuse, 3 times during the school year, then they're considered truant. Or if they miss 3 days of school without an excuse, that means no one called in, so we don't have an excuse or an unexcused absence, then that is considered a truant absence. And once you once you get 3 or more of those, your child's considered truant. Now, every day when a child is absent, we have daily attendance notifications, and those notifications go out via Parent Square. So if you receive a notice and you've already provided the school's attendance line or staff member with an absence reason, kudos to you for doing that, then there's no action on your part, but it still might give you a call. But if you haven't yet called in the school to explain your absence, we recommend that you use the send a note feature to share the reason for the absence. And the administrative assistant or the attendance clerk will get that and be able to mark that appropriately for your student. Now, this is where we always get a lot of questions, and it's around our attendance letters and when they get sent and why they get sent. So per Ed Code, there's certain times when a student would get an attendance letter. So the first one I'm going to talk about, which I talked a little bit about, was our truancy letters. So you'll get your first truancy letter if, like we said, your child has 3 or more truant tardies that are 30 minutes or more late, or they have 3 unexcused absences. You're going to get what's called letter 1. If that adds up to 6, so you have 6 or more unexcused absences, or 6 or more tardies that are over 30 minutes late that are unexcused, you're going to get what's called a letter 2. And once you receive a letter 2, the principal or assistant principal will be reaching out to you to set up what's called a pre-SARB, School Attendance Review Board meeting, to meet with you to come up with a plan on how to support your student and how we can support you as a family and making sure that your student gets to school on time, and that if they are out, to make sure that you call in and give a reason for their absence. For chronic absenteeism, you'll get 1 letter, and as soon as your student has missed 10% of the school year, whether the absence is excused or not, you will get a letter. So like Alicia was sharing an example for chronic absenteeism, at the end of the year, we have 180 school days. So if your child has missed 18 days or more, they're considered chronically absent. It looks at where we are in the school year. So if we're only 20 days into the school year and your child has missed 2 days, they're considered chronically absent. And I'll go in a little bit more on that, on how that can change throughout the year. And then we also send out letters for excessive excused. And this is to let you know that your child is getting a lot, like they're getting a lot of absences. And we want to let you be aware of that, because sometimes you might not even realize, like, oh my gosh, I've taken them out for a doctor's appointment, or they've been sick this time or this time, and not realize that they've kind of added up. So you'll get your first letter if you have 7 excused absences. You'll get letter 2 if there's 12, and then your school site administrator or assistant principal will set up a pre-SARB meeting. And then after that, the pre-SARB, if the absences continue to come, then you'll go to what's called our SARB, our School Attendance Review Board, which I'll go into a little bit more in a moment. But let's get back to that chronic absenteeism, because I think sometimes people get confused about what that means, because they, think, well, I've called in the absences. It was an excused absence. We had a reason for that. And yes, that's great. And we're happy that you are calling them in. But the state considers a student chronically absent when they've missed 10% or more of the school year, even if the absences are excused. So they count both excused and unexcused. And like I said, if like right now, we're getting close to 20 days of the school year, if your child has missed 2 days, they're going to be currently considered chronically absent. But if their attendance keeps going, and let's say they don't miss any more school for the rest of the year, they're going to fall off that list. So it just kind of depends where we are in the school year. So if you get one of those letters, don't be upset. We're required to send them, but then we want to work with you and figure out what we can do to support your student. Especially like if your student might be having some anxiety around coming to school, or things like that, we are definitely here to support you and can come up with lots of different ways to help your child feel more comfortable coming back to campus. So let's say you've gotten your letters and you've gone to pre-SARB. So a pre-SARB has taken place and you've come up with a contract that you've worked on with the site principal or assistant principal, and the plan is in place, but your student continues to miss school and the absences continue to add up. Then you're going to be referred to what is called SARB, which is the School Attendance Review Board. And you'll come with your student, and we have kind of what's called like a hearing. We sit in a group, myself, I'm there, the district nurse is there, and usually a few people from the school site. And we review the absences, and we develop a collaborative plan as a team to help improve your child's attendance. The goal of SARB is we're not trying to penalize you. We don't want to scare you. We really want to come together and work as a team to figure out how do we support your child and you, making sure that they're coming to school on a regular basis and coming up with different ideas and plans. There's been, sometimes myself or a school site will text a student in the morning just to make sure they're up and getting ready. Little things like that can make a difference in a child and just helping them get back on track. So if you go to SARB, our goal is always to support and help you in getting your student back on track and coming to school, and helping you as parents and guardians with any barriers that might exist. Now, if we've had a SARB hearing and we've come up with a contract and we've made the plan, and we still do not see an improvement with attendance. This is very rare because usually we do see improvement, and we're looking just, we're not looking for a miracle where they're like now showing up every day if they're really struggling. We're looking for improvement, and that could look different for every student. But if we're not seeing any improvement and we're seeing those absences continue, then your case will be referred to the district attorney. You'll actually be referred to Alicia, who was speaking earlier tonight, and your attendance case will go before a judge. And the judge will provide certain things that you have to do to work on supporting your child's attendance. This is a rare thing. This is not something we do very often, because usually if we get to SARB, we usually can come up with a great plan together to help your student come back to school. Now, this is another question we get all the time. What if we have a planned vacation? And while we definitely would prefer you to take your vacations when the school's out on vacation, we understand there might be circumstances sometimes where that's not the case and you have something else planned, or there might be, a special occasion. So we do have an option for you so that you don't get dinged for your attendance. Each site you can request an independent study, and an independent study is a minimum of you must request it 2 weeks in advance. So make sure if you have a trip plan that it does not fall in with the school schedule, that you come at least 2 weeks in advance to your school site to talk about having your student go on independent study. An independent study can be for a minimum of 3 days to a maximum of 15 days in one school year. So sometimes some people might have something that's 3 days, and then maybe later in the year, 5 days. As long as they don't go over 15 days, your child can go on independent studies. And when your child is on independent study, the teacher will provide the work for them to do while they are away from school. The work should be done not the day they get back from their vacation, not all before they go on vacation, but while they are actually on vacation. Because really what the independent study is showing is that we are providing you schoolwork to help your child stay in context with the class at the time. And so we're really looking for students that they're doing a little bit each day on vacation. We're not looking for hours and hours, but just a little bit each day because they are missing school time. And while you're doing the independent study, you're getting credit for being at school for that day, even though you're not there. Just some reminders, no independent studies are allowed the first 2 weeks or the last 2 weeks of school. So if you have a vacation or you're going to plan something when school gets out, don't connect it to those last 2 weeks because we cannot provide you with an independent study. All work must be completed to receive full credit. So the work that your child, when they come back, they have to turn the work in and they will get full credit for their days absent. And if all the work is completed, if not, they will not get full credit. And some of those days may go as unexcused absences. So as I said, an independent study, if all work is completed, counts as if your child was at school. So we do have that option. So if you have something planned that is outside of our school year calendar, then please make sure you reach out to your site and get that set up. All right. And just some more helpful hints. Alicia shared quite a few. Keeping a calendar at home to mark and celebrate days present, particularly if you have a student that's really struggling with attendance, setting little goals in the beginning for them and celebrating when they reach those goals. Making sure you set a regular bedtime to help your child get at least 8.5 hours of sleep each night. Sleep is so important for your child, so important for their brain development, for their mood, for everything overall. Setting out your clothes and accessories the night before so that in the morning it doesn't become an issue or an argument of figuring out what they're going to wear and what goes with what. So setting that out so you can just take that out of the mix and they're ready to go. For some students, deciding what to have for breakfast can be challenging in the morning. So if they can figure that out the night before, then you have that ready to go and that just takes away that barrier. I always suggest giving yourself a 5 to 10 minute buffer if you're driving your child's school to help with the traffic, because as I'm sure as you all know, going to the school sites before school and after school, there's a lot of traffic. And so you want to make sure that you've provided yourself enough time to get there so that your student isn't late. We ask, and I know it's not always possible, but to try to set up appointments outside of regular school hours. And we know that can be challenging because there's many students in the county and lots of people have to go to the orthodontist or the dentist or the doctor. But if you're able to, then that would be really awesome. But we understand that sometimes you can't. And so if that is the case, please make sure you bring a note in to excuse your child's absence. Review our school's calendar and plan vacations when school is out if possible. Our calendars, go out usually around January or December, and you'll have next year's school calendar. So looking ahead to plan things out. And then if you ever have questions or you have concerns, even if you haven't gotten a letter, but you're worried you might get a letter, please reach out to your principal, or you can reach out to me at any time if you need support talking to your student about the importance of attendance. We have great schools in our school district, and our teachers are here every day ready to support your student and help them learn. And we really want to make sure they're here every day so that they can take advantage of the great education that is available for them. In the chat, as I said, and I will put it in one more time, is a Google form. If you have specific questions about attendance, please fill that out. I ask for your name and email, and I will get back to you by the middle of next week with any specific attendance questions you have. I can always be reached at my email, which is murphya@unionsd.org. I'm always happy to support and help with any kind of attendance questions or concerns that you might have. And I thank everyone for joining tonight. If you have any specific questions, please pop them in the Google form. And if not, enjoy the rest of your evening.